All right. Well, what do you know? Let's see if this one is finally live, you guys. We had some issues. I'm assuming it was an Apple update. Anyways, we're back. We're live. Sorry for being a little behind. We are going to start off this episode of the Canadian Live Immigration Q&A with our feature question. And the question that we received that was really, the one probably I get more than any when it comes to people with family in Canada is, when applying through Express Entry, do you need to disclose your relative that's living in Canada? And there may be a number of different scenarios. Scenario one, you've got an uncle or aunt. You're not going to be claiming any points for them. You don't need, the 5 points for the federal skilled worker program. So that's fine. So do you need to disclose that or not? Because it doesn't make a difference. Option two, well, you have a sibling in Canada. And yes, you're going to get 15 CRS points for having a sibling in Canada, but you don't get along with them. And that sibling is not really interested in giving you anything to support your permanent residence. That happens. So an uncooperative family member, or you're not getting points. Those are the two things that people ask me all the time. If those are the situations, do I need to disclose it? So if I go into the Express Entry profile and I'm entering that information in, and I have that uncle that's really I'm estranged from, do I need to disclose that? Well, the answer is yes, you do. And when we look at the ultimate question that I received, and I'll just read it for you guys. So the question that I got within within our feature question requests is, my sister is a permanent resident of Canada. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull up the whole question. I think I can make this work. So bear with me, you guys. We're going to do some good old school posting of questions here. So let's see how this works. And we will see how it appears on my screen. So bear with me here. Let's see if we can see this. Oh, it's not too pretty. It's not too pretty. Okay, well, we can improvise here. We're going to improvise. Okay, so the full question, and we're going to enlarge this so you guys can see it a little bit better. Okay, we're getting bigger, getting better. I was going to pull this one up, but we had so much trouble with our feeds that, well, okay. All right, anyways. Okay, so it's not pretty, but you guys get the gist of the question. Here's the actual question that came in. My sister's a permanent resident in Canada, but I don't want to claim points for it. Should I answer no to the question, do you have a relative who is a citizen or permanent resident of Canada? Would it be considered misrepresentation? So back to what I was getting at with the questions here, you guys. The reality is, yes, you do need to disclose. And the reason you need to do that is because you have to answer truthfully to all the questions. And if you answer, no, I don't have a relative, or I don't have and what we're talking about relatives is really like uncle, aunt, parent, sibling, like close relatives, not your distant third cousin, 4 times removed. Ultimately, these are family that would be considered to give you potential points within the federal skilled worker program, or family members that are a sibling in the context of the comprehensive ranking system, because that's where you're getting points. So immigration wants you to answer the question. If you do not answer this question correct, then yes, it could be determined that you have misrepresented on your application, and ultimately get a 5-year bar and have your whole application rejected. That's great, right? You're saying, thanks, Mark. Great tip. I need to answer. Well, what do I do then? Because if you answer it, it's then going to create in your document checklist a spot to upload proof that that person is a relative, that they live in Canada, that they're a Canadian citizen and permanent resident. So all those things are being triggered. Well, what if you can't get them? That is something that I cover a lot in my Express Entry course. And the DIY course, what we talk about is, and what I teach my students in there, is that the letter of explanation is the secret sauce. So if you're unable to get documentation that you need, then in that case, you're going to upload a letter of explanation saying, hey, my sister, I do have a sister. This is her information. She won't give me anything. We're estranged, but I'm just letting you know. And so that's how we deal with it. And in the Express Entry, a step-by-step course and guide that I have, we go through in detail how to develop those letters of explanation, how to really massage those areas that are tricky so that you're in a position to be able to disclose as best you can, and have an officer say, okay, I understand you don't need the points. I can assess. It doesn't play a role, so you're good to go. But you need to be careful. You guys really do, because if you are not, you could run into a huge problem if an officer knows you have a family member or discovers it and you didn't disclose it. And the worst thing in the world is to be subject to a misrepresentation finding and then have your whole dream of immigrating to Canada, poof, disappear. All right. So that is the feature question for today. Hopefully it was useful. Now, some of you are probably wondering, how do I submit my feature question? Well, in the link below, you can click on, if you go to the YouTube channel, and what I'll do, which all of you are because we're broadcasting live to YouTube, I'm just going to pull this up and I'll show you. It's interesting that we're going live. I'm glad this worked out because I had some real problems with being able to being able to go live. And some of you may have saw that it tried to start. Anyways, I'm just grateful it all worked out. So ultimately, if you go down to here, and I'll show you, flip this screen around. This should, oh, it's not too bad. Okay. So this is the Canadian Immigration Institute YouTube channel. And this is what you guys should be seeing right now. If you scroll down into the description here, you will see where you can submit your question for the next Q&A. So if I click on this link, yes, I want to go to the site, and you'll probably want to do this too. It'll take you right here where you can put your name, your email address, the country where you're currently at, and then write your question here and submit it. And then we go through these questions, and then we choose the questions that are the most practical for the most number of people, the questions that we're getting a lot of. And so we'll work, so those are the ones that really drive the ship of how we choose what we're going to do. So that's how you submit that question. All right. A couple other quick little announcements and housekeeping matters as we go forward in preparation for this live Q&A, because we are going to answer all of the questions. And there's, I think, a little bit of a misunderstanding that the feature question is the only thing that these Q&As are about. That's not the case. What we're doing with those feature questions is we are taking them and we're including them within our LinkedIn and our Facebook pages, but as a recording. So our fearless editor, Phil, is going to be cutting out that little feature question and then uploading it to the other channels that we have. But YouTube, we're kind of, you guys, YouTube, you're the one that is driving the ship for us. Okay, so there we go. So we've got the questions, and remember always to subscribe to our channel. It will get the message out. It will let people know that what is happening. And yeah, it's good times, good times. Okay, let's take a look at a couple things that I want to share. Oh, we better open this up and get this sorted out right. We want this to be our Google here. Okay, so let's open this up here. Oh, and look at that. I have to get myself. Oh, I think I chose the wrong one. That's why. I chose the wrong one. One person screen is what I want. There we go. Okay, now we're back on. It's a little bit rough and tumble, as you can see. We've got a new kind of featured look for our channel. And whenever we roll these things out, it's hard. You can't really test it very well when you're going live. So bear with me. So we will get to questions in just a little bit, so hang tight. Yes, the Canadian Immigration Institute, we have our Express Entry course that is coming up. Spousal is October the 17th. The postgrad, if you haven't filed that, this course is for you. And then the Express Entry, September the 19th to the 22nd is when we're going to do our masterclass, but you can subscribe to that right now. And with all of this stuff, all of the links are right in the description of the YouTube channel, so you can get access to everything you're looking for right there. All right, it's time. Let's jump in and let's get to the questions that listeners and those who are watching live have requested. So you can post your questions now. Let's see what we've got here. Ravaraj, hello, good to see you. Let's see, who else do we have here? DS says, hello from Ulaanbaatar. All right. Well, I'm not quite sure where that is, but welcome, welcome. All right. Let's see what else we've got going on here. Okay. Sanjeev says, hey, Mark, when will the score of 483 be able to get the invitation? It's going to be a long time, Sanjeev. I don't think it's going to happen this year. It's going to be a long time. Ultimately, it depends on what the minister does here in just a little bit, right? So we'll see if he has any announcements and lets us know what's happening with all the international students, because that may open up other doors. Okay, Sayan from London, CEC 504. Hang in there. Hang in there. Now, one of the things we're always watching for, and when it comes to Express Entry, the rounds of invitations we know happen just about every week. And when that occurs, make sure I got the right page here. When that occurs, it usually happens right after we end our lives. So we'll see how this plays out, but you can see the last draw was August the 17th. It's the 31st today, so we are due for another round of invitation. So let's wait and see how that plays out. All right. Who else do we have here who's tuning in? DS says, when to update the LMIA plan? Well, that's a good question, DS. Not quite sure exactly what you're referring to. When to update the LMIA plan? Labor market, there's a benefit plan that also plays a role. And yeah, interesting. Okay, so hang tight. And if you have some more, I'm a little flustered by your question here, DS. When update LMIA plan? Not sure what you mean. You can repost and kind of reword it, and then I can maybe figure that out. Okay, CF says, hey, Mark, thanks for your advice. I got a Cooper yesterday. Oh, wait a minute. I don't have my celebratory sound effects on here. Okay, I'll have to add those in a little bit later here. But congratulations. That is so awesome. Here we go. I got it. I'm back. There's some applause. There's some applause. That is so fantastic. I am so happy for you. Ultimately, it has become quite the adventure for me, watching people who've gone through the process, who've graduated from the Canadian Immigration Institute, who've gone on, who have taken the courses that we have and things like that, and then come back and tell me that they are new permanent residents. That's what this is all about. So cool. Thank you so much for letting me know, CF. Okay. Akershak, good to see you. Good morning. Hey, Andy, good to see you. Greetings over there in Ottawa. All right. Amara says, can one apply and accept another job offer while working on a closed work permit for a specific employer? If yes, can the current employer oppose to IRCC to grant the new work permit? Okay, Amara, any company can apply to get a new work permit for you, but that closed work permit only authorizes you to work for the current employer. So there's nothing stopping another company from requesting another work permit. And if your lousy employer is trying to block you from getting a job with a better employer, well, screw them. Like, if you have any issues, do not hesitate at any time to reach out to us. And if I share my screen here again, go to our site, click on Speak to a Lawyer, and I'm happy to help you navigate through that, because I hate bullies. And if you've got an employer who's trying to oppose the granting of the new work permit, well, screw them. Like, that is absolutely unacceptable. If they're creating an environment where you're working that's just junk, if another employer goes through another labor market impact assessment, if you're on an LMIA, if you've got a post-grad work permit, then there's no issues with moving. The only time that it becomes an issue, Amara, is if that job offer is associated with a permanent resident application. And that's why I recommend that you book a consult so we can chat about this. But ultimately, the only time you have to be concerned about switching and changing employment is if your permanent resident application through a PNP or through Express Entry, there's job offer points associated with it. But even then, there's times and things that you can do to hopefully sort it out. So yeah, so keep that in mind, Amara. Good question. Okay. Mariana joining from Toronto. Nice to see you again. You too, Mariana. Okay. Does that mean that we still have to disclose uncles, grandparents, and provide proof if we do not have a good relationship with them? What if it's difficult to get proof, like birth certificates? Well, that's exactly the question that I answered. So ultimately, you are going to do the best you can to provide the evidence that you have. And in most cases, people really don't need the points, especially for uncles and things like that. But if they fit within the definition of family members that are required, that you're required to disclose, then that becomes something that you just have to do the best thing that you can. And letters of explanation, like I cover in my course, if you do those correctly, you're not going to have a problem. Now, I want to show you guys something. I'm going to go back here again. I finally got my overlay sort out. I'm going to go to FSW eligibility, and this is where it covers the expansive nature of who is a family member. And within the selection factors here, it goes through, as we scroll down here, education, proof, admissibility. When we're going to dive into the selection factors, the grid right here, and then as we pull this up and let's see here, the grid, let's try to open this up. Here we go. If you scroll down, you'll see these come down to the adaptability points. Now, many of you don't even know that this is happening. This assessment under the Federal Skilled Worker Program, if you're outside of Canada, is how you get into the pool. But if you look here, you can see there's adaptability points for other factors. It's kind of like the skill transferability points that are in existence within the Canadian, within the comprehensive ranking system. So if you scroll down here, you will see that you can get an extra 5 points towards the selection criteria for the Federal Skilled Worker Program for a relative in Canada. And this is where you look and say, okay, well, what is a relative? Well, a relative means, and you can see it right here, parent, grandparent, a child, a grandchild, your or your spouse's sibling, okay? Your or your spouse's aunt or uncle, your or your spouse's niece or nephew. So grandchild of your or your spouse's parent. So that's how expansive a relative is. And yes, if you have one of those that fit in there that meet that definition, you have an obligation to disclose. And yes, in some countries, birth certificates and things are difficult. So the key is that IRCC, if you provide them with as much information as you can, and then you readdress to them that family member, you don't need that extra 5 points. You already meet the eligibility of the Federal Skilled Worker Program without that extra 5 points for a relative. And if the relative's a sibling, and you can say, hey, within the round of invitations, I didn't need that extra 15 points. Then you can explain through the R11.2, or I should say the A11.2 assessment, section 11.2 of the Immigration and Refugee Protection Act, that you everything that you claimed within your profile that resulted in you getting an invitation to apply, you're still hitting the eligibility, and you still have a score high enough without needing this information. All right, great question, Mariana. Thanks for the follow-up. Okay, Kif, good to see you from Qatar. Great to see you. Lubaba, hello. Okay, GS Chima says, please tell about the super visa, how much time it takes. I filed my application on the 27th of July, 2022. All right, well, the processing times, the government does a pretty good job to try to update the processing times, right? So let's take a look. Now you will see here, so let's go back to the screen here, we'll share it. So I'm going to the processing times. I just pumped in the search right there. And then if you go here, temporary residence right here, and then temporary residence applications, you can see as you scroll down here, visitor visa from outside Canada, super visa, parent and grandparent. So when you click on here, where do your parents live? So let's say, like a lot of people, let's say it's India. So then if you click on here and then you check on processing time, you can see that it takes 68 days. And this was last updated just yesterday. That's one good thing. Every week, it seems like they update it the Tuesday before we go live. So there's your answer, 68 days, if depending on where that super visa, but you can just pull it up just by doing a search. So if you filed on July 27th, that's only a month ago. Well, you've got at least another month or more if you're in India, but you have to check to see which country you're coming from. Okay. All right. Good question, Chima. Thank you very much. Okay. Sandra says, are they doing spousal sponsorship? Yes, they are. They are. And I think you guys have seen this, the minister flopping all over the place. Oh, now we're prioritizing international students, and we're not prioritizing workers. Like what? And so I think they need to really engage better with stakeholders. They have to hire more people. They've got to train, and our artificial intelligence is not the solution, minister. So we'll see how this all plays out. Okay, Arsh says, hey, Mark, I completed my first semester online and then I got a refusal. Is there any benefit of reconsideration? Arsh, this 100%, and let me see if I've got this here. Right there is the winner. You absolutely need to slide over to our website and book a consult. And our go-to person, man, I keep choosing the wrong one there. Our go-to person when it comes to consultations, if you click speak to a lawyer, especially when it comes to refusals, Chanel's all about that stuff. She's reconsiderations. She has that. Cedric, you can see we're constantly updating our website. Cedric is reconsiderations, litigation. That's his wheelhouse as well. And of course, Alicia and I were involved in all this kind of stuff as well. So come check it out. Check out the site, and don't hesitate to book a consult, and we can tell you exactly what your options are. How long ago was that refusal, Arsh? What were the grounds for the refusal? And there might be a number of different factors. And yes, maybe reconsideration does make sense. Most officers that I talk to, they don't even pay much attention to the reconsideration. So sometimes we have to get heavy hitter and file judicial reviews of those refusals, Arsh. And lots of them are just consented to by the Department of Justice lawyers, because they know that the reconsideration, that the application, the refusal wasn't correct in law. So, but that requires a whole lot more than a comment, response to a comment in a YouTube channel. So Arsh, slide over and book a consultation with us. Okay. All right. Eric's got a big old question here. Says school starts May of 2023, lasts for 20 months. Applied within Canada for study permit last month. Turns out the study permit is valid for only the first 3 months. Is it usual? What can cause it? Password valid till 2030. I don't know, Eric. Once again, I come down to that same thing of booking a consult. I need a whole lot more information, because obviously it doesn't make sense, does it? All right. Next question here. This is Floral Chic. Mark, good day. Can I apply for a work permit even with a pending visitor visa application? 2 months and still no update on visitor visa, and now I got a job offer. Absolutely, you can. Absolutely. If you do it correctly and you properly advise immigration of the pending visitor visa, ultimately when you're applying for the work permit, they need to issue an entry visa with it together. And so there's no issues. Those are not conflicting. Ultimately, people get job offers, and a work permit is, well, in the context of coming to Canada, boy, that's your ticket, isn't it, Floral Chic? All right. Okay, next Harsh says, hey, Mark, can I take French lessons at Alliance Française while on a postgrad work permit? Or can it be only done with a study permit? Study really comes down to the length and the duration. So anyone can study in Canada in a program that's less than 6 months. So typically when it comes to, and as far as Alliance Française, I don't know exactly what that is, but generally speaking, people can take language programs that are less than 6 months, and it's not an issue. But Harsh, I'd need a little bit more detail, and we need to connect and actually look at the program and make sure that it fits within that exemption, and that there's no other kind of triggers that would suggest it's a part of something more that would require a study permit. All right. Okay. Ravaraj, hello. Okay. Ravaraj says, hi, Mark. My wife is in Canada on a visitor visa while applying for a spousal open work permit. Should I hide her pregnancy, since the officer might think it will lead to additional burden on provincial health sources? No, you don't need to hide anything. But here's the thing. I don't think you need to disclose a pregnancy. I don't think it's a question that's asked. Maybe you can correct me, Ravaraj, if that's something that you see. But one, even if it was asked, no, you're not going to hide it. No, it's not going to create an additional burden on provincial health. Well, it might, but understand, when you're working and your spouse is working, you're paying taxes, and taxes go into healthcare. And that's why workers are granted access to the healthcare systems, is because your taxes that are being remitted from your employment income, if you're working in Canada, are actually going towards the, subsidizing the healthcare systems across Canada. So I don't know, you could be a student possibly. If your spouse is applying for a spousal open work permit, you could be working. But yeah, no, Ravaraj, you definitely don't need to hide it or be concerned. But if it's not asked, then you don't need to say anything about it. All right, we've got our first super that's jumped in here. So Dante says, this is out of immigration related query. Okay. I am in the process to become a real estate agent. Is it advisable to become a realtor in Alberta? How is the market? Well, it's going to be interesting to see. The market has been quite good. I've got a lot of friends that are realtors in Alberta, and it's definitely not a bad decision, Dante. The interesting thing about realty is that when you get your license, you can do multiple jobs. So you can kind of work at one job and do real estate on the side, or you can dive right in and do real estate nonstop. But one thing we do know is that interest rates are climbing. It's becoming more and more difficult for buyers to purchase. And thanks to our, thanks to our liberal government and the decisions that they made to print money, we're now in a situation where inflation is climbing. It's harder to get homes. And the pandemic played a role in that as well. But thanks to Justin Trudeau and his party, we now have a situation where it's much more difficult to get a home, much more difficult to get a house. Interest rates are climbing and climbing. So at the end of the day, in Alberta, things are good. Like our oil and gas sector is picking up. There are companies, and this is something, stay tuned, you guys, because I've got companies that are absolutely looking for to fill large volumes of workers in certain sectors. And so stay tuned, because I'm going to start doing a lot more of how to find jobs. So that's something I want you guys to watch out for. All right. So there you go, Dante. Hope that was helpful. Good luck in your journey. Okay. Next question here. Actually, I jumped past James. He says, James D'Souza from Goa, India. Sorry, was busy. Happy to hear you live. Stay blessed always. You're very, very welcome, James. I'm glad to have you connecting in and contributing to this. Okay. All right, let's see what's next here. So the next question is from Osinde. Dominic says, hey, I'm Dominic. I withdrew my application for last year and we were told to apply again. All right. I don't know, Dominic, if you have any other follow-ups to that. Ultimately, like I said, if you need help, we're here and we can help you guys with all kinds of, components to the application process. Okay. Let's see where we continue off here. Next question. All right. Amara's continuing on with this. And this is where I really, really strongly suggest, Amara, that you book a consult. Could an employer cancel a signed work contract as a result on long delay from IRCC processing the candidate's visa? If yes, could the candidate seek a compassion either from the employer or IRCC? If the employer, they can cancel, they can terminate any kind of relationship at any point in time they want. There's provisions based on the contract if you've started to work for them, notice periods of termination and things like that. Employment standards in the various provinces, have some limited protection for workers when their job is terminated after they've started, but there's no real recourse. If an employer says, I'm tired of waiting for IRCC, they can absolutely back out. They don't have to continue forward. So there's not much that can be done in that case, Amara. There really isn't. As far as, and I don't know if you seek a compassion either. I don't know if that's compensation, like, damages for the offer being pulled, but, ultimately it comes down to what the terms of that contract were. And if you want to book a consult, we can look at that in more depth, but just an offer that's conditional, which most offers are, that a person secure work authorization, which most, like I said, if an employer knows what they're doing, they've drafted those contracts in that fashion, then, they're fully within their right to back out. Okay. Double O Target says, is it mandatory to write an English language proficiency IELTS test and score 8777 for applying an Express Entry or PNP, or can we skip this exam? You have to have English. There's no province out there that's not going to have a requirement for a level of English. Now, whether it's CLB 9, which is that 8777, or something less, depends on the program, depends on, whether it's a PNP program, Express Entry, whether you're CEC, your skill level for your work experience, a lot of different factors come into play. All right, Fernando, hello down there in Panama City. Great to have you connecting in. Could you please explain, Teja says, more on the IMP C20 reciprocal employment? That is a fantastic segue, because Alicia and I are going to be releasing over the next couple weeks a series of videos that target the International Mobility Program. That's what IMP stands for, you guys. And the International Mobility Program is all those work permits that do not require an LMIA. C20, the reciprocal employment, just at its very basic nature, is a work permit that is designed to allow a company who sends Canadian employees abroad to other countries to work for a related entity to have people working in that related entity in the other country come and work in Canada. So that's the reciprocity. That's reciprocal. Now, there's a lot of different, specific things that need to be in place. things like global mobility policies and showing a certain number of individuals are actually going and working outside for the company. But usually it's beneficial for global companies with multiple presences in multiple countries. It doesn't have to be from Canada just to the US and US to Canada. Canada could be sending people to France, but then they're pulling someone from an operation in the US to come and work in Canada. Reciprocity is fine that way. But if you're trying to bring in a whole bunch of people through a C20, then they often look at ratios to make sure that there isn't more people coming in than there is having opportunities to go abroad. That's a very, very high level Coles Notes version of C20. But yeah, that's kind of how it is structured. All right. Keep zipping through here. Okay, Tasha has a follow-up question. Can an LMIA exempt permit be used for express entry if it's of the IMP C20 reciprocal employment category? Once again, book a consult. Slide over to our page and book a consult with Alicia, Chanel, Cedric, or myself, and we will absolutely help to clarify that. But it all comes down to a job offer. And Tejas, when it comes to C20, if you're working for that employer, if you've worked for that employer for 1 year, excuse me, and it's an employer-specific work permit. If we go here, IRCC offer of employment, when it comes to claiming points for a job offer, we zip over here, you will see that all of this comes into play. They're going to make an offer to you. It's usually, you can't use the same offer that you used to get your work permit. So it's a new offer that basically says that they will continue to employ you for at least 1 year after you become a permanent resident. But it also must fit into one of these categories. Category 1 and 2 are LMIAs, don't apply to you, but this one does. If you have a valid work permit, you can see that's exempt from an LMIA. That is the International Mobility Program. It has to be skilled, 0A or B. You're currently working for the employer. You have 1 year of full-time work on that work permit, or you have a valid and you have a valid job offer for at least 1 year, then this would be you. So if those parameters fit, then possibly, yes, you can claim those extra job offer points, but the employer needs to step up and be willing to support. Okay. All right. Taggle Sear says, hello, Mark, addicted to the Q&A, even after getting the Coper. Oh, another one. That is so odd. Oh, wrong one. Right here. That's the one. That's awesome. He says, thanks for all the efforts and your time, all the love from Saudi. Hey, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. That really, really means a lot. Okay, let's see what's next here. Okay, Chioma says, please, how do I contact? Well, Chioma, the best way and always is to come. Like, we don't offer free one-to-one advice. You have to pay for it. But the booking an immigration consultation with our website, you can do that right from this YouTube that we're watching right live. And if we scroll down here, you'll see submit your questions, book an immigration consultation is right here. You just click this link. It will take you right to our site and you can zip right down, choose the lawyer that best fits. And it's so easy to do it. So if you say, I want to book a 25-minute consult with Alicia, you can see, well, we're the last day of August, so there's no availability today. But if we advance to the next one here into September, Thursday, you can see that Alicia has spots open. And it's just a matter of clicking on that time, confirming it, and then it will, and then you'll pay and away you go to book that consult. So yes, so that's the best way to go, is to head to our page and we'd be delighted to help you and work with you. And there's lots of options. All right. Okay, Jake says, I was able to get a spousal open work permit while holding a study permit. Okay, so now I have both a study permit and work permit. Thanks for the help last week. Yes, that's fantastic. Another applause for Jake. Fantastic. Okay. Kay Taylor says, an immigration lawyer who's anti-liberal. That sounds weird. Am I anti-liberal? Yes, I am. And yes, I'm probably a rare breed, but hey, I'm from Alberta. That should answer everything, I guess. And it's not that I'm anti-liberal. I'm just anti-liberal policies. And so when it comes to the economic world and how they manage the economic portfolio, yeah, definitely not terribly in favor of everything that's transpired. And our country is bleeding now. It's painful. And you can't just print money with no no regard to the consequences. And now, you guys, we will be suffering the consequences. All right. Dante, you're very, very welcome. Okay. Himanshu says, P.S. she also has a U.S. visa. Okay, let's see if I can find, I want to make sure I'm on. Oh, all right. I don't have the other part of your question. I'm not sure if you do have another question. Maybe it didn't get posted. Okay, let's see here. Let's keep going through here. All right, Nada says, hey, Mark, can a bank account of a partner used in proof of funds and express entry? Yeah, you can if they're coming with you. And I always include a letter that says these funds are meant for the collective use of our family. And so you can use a partner's bank account as proof of funds in the context of an express entry application if you do it correctly. So you really have to word things properly. And that's, I probably, within the course that, within our express entry course here that I offer, which is going to start here in September, one of the things that we spend a lot of time is going through, and if you scroll down to the bottom here, there are modules that cover every aspect of the whole process. But in here, module 6, mastering your documents, I have a lesson that specifically dives deep into letters of explanation. And I'll just log in and I'll just show you. So I've got all of these. This is what it looks like when you log in yourself. So if I go to express entry and we scroll down to mastering your documents, and then we go all the way down. It takes 2 pages because there's documents for every single one. You can see right here, letters of explanation, client information. There is a video that is 28 minutes long. You can see here that discusses exactly how I prepare my letters of explanation, including, if I pause this and I kind of scrub through this a little bit, including how I describe a whole bunch of things, how I set up my explanations for work experience, and how I provide my letters of explanation for the information that's contained. It's all in here, so it's all built, and it really helps to know kind of how an officer looks at an application. And as you understand that, then you can better present the information in a way that they're going to say, yes, Nada, that's awesome, no problems. Approve, right? That's the goal. All right. Harja says, hey, Mark, how much is your charges to review a GCMS notes? Do I still need to book consultation for that? Yeah, absolutely you do, Harjas. Now, if you've requested them yourself, it's just the regular time for a consultation. You just book the consultation. When we are doing, making the request plus the consultation, we charge $500 for that Canadian, but that involves getting it, meeting with you, breaking it down, telling you what it means. But if you have it, then it's just a regular consultation. So just book that and we can absolutely discuss that. I do that all the time, all the time. Okay. Paul says, what is the total cost for me to move to Canada? Well, from the standpoint of, all the different things, it comes down to which programs you're going through. If you're going through a provincial nominee program, they have a separate fee. If you're going through express entry, then there's a separate fee for that. There's fees for language testing. There are fees for immigration medicals. Often police clearances don't require a fee, but there's a lot of resources invested in it. And then the cost of retaining firms to, or, if you're going to seek assistance from a representative. And if we go back to our website here and we go to legal services, you can see the services, and this is growing. We do way more than just this, but what we're doing now is we're actually on our website providing a lot more details and explanations on how it all works within our website. So definitely head over there and check it out. It's constantly growing, but you'll see here we also have our legal fees. So as a firm, this is what we charge. Okay, so express entry we charge $4,000 plus GST. And if you have additional family members, or you've got some other complicating matters, that's why we have starting from $4,000. If it's straightforward application, that's what we charge. PNPs, we're about $4,500. You can see spousals are also $4,000, and you can click right here to get more information about those programs, and they're all kind of interactive. And on the express entry page, this is something I want to point out to you guys. You can get your free express entry profile document checklist. So this is our kind of tips and strategies on how to start collecting your documents now so that you can be ready when you get that magical invitation to apply. So lots of resources, and definitely head over to the website and check those out. All right. So Short answer, Paul, is it varies. It varies, but it's an investment, right? Anytime you're going to move from one country to another. And when you choose to retain our firm, people do it for peace of mind. They want one of the awesome lawyers, myself, Alicia, Cedric, Chanel, to be able to go through, look at everything, make sure everything's done properly, and do it together with you. That's the collaborative review. That's the feature service that we offer within the firm. Okay. All right, keep zipping. I'm going to try to mix it up. If I've answered a couple questions from you, I'm going to try to get to other people because we're just about out. Sahil says, how early can I come to Canada on a study visa before my studies start? Flights are very costly around winter holidays before winter intake starts. Sahil, this depends entirely on the border officer. There isn't any one set time. If you say, hey, I'm going to come 5 months before school starts, that's probably an issue. If you're coming a month in advance to get a place and get set up, then that's probably not going to be an issue. All right. Okay. Shieldon says, hey, Mark, been watching your videos for a while. I'm wondering if the primary knock code for my provincial nominee should match my Express Entry profile. Thank you. Yeah. If you've got a nomination from the province, then that knock code should match. Yes. Okay. Okay. This is a tough one tomorrow. Okay. I'm sure everybody's got an opinion on this. Is there any difference between an immigration consultant and an immigration lawyer? Which one is suited to carry immigration matters? Both are authorized to provide services, and not every lawyer is created equally. Not every immigration consultant is created equally. The standards that are required to become a licensed lawyer are much more robust, and from an academic standpoint, to become a lawyer than it is to become an immigration consultant. Although with the Queen's program, any new students going through, I have a whole lot more respect for that level of education than what it took to become a consultant before, which is the vast majority of the 9,000 consultants out there, however many they are. And so which is suited to carry immigration matters when it comes to litigation in court, appeal work, that kind of stuff. That's absolutely in a lawyer's wheelhouse. But I also have had employees in the past that are excellent technicians, that are really, really good at LMIAs, or really, really good at, preparing business immigration applications. One of the advantages to immigration lawyers is that, our regulator is a whole lot more, robust and protective of you as an individual than the consultant regulator. And I know they're working on trying to improve it and make it better. And I hope that's the case. But there's not a lot of protections in place. And I've seen it even today. If a consultant screws you over, takes your money, mismanages your file, there's not a lot of recourse to get your money back or really see meaningful action if you've been treated with malpractice. When it comes to lawyers, the Law Society is a freaking beast. And if there are problems with anything with respect to representation, even with fees, there's a mechanism to challenge the fees that a lawyer is charging you. And that's not just for immigration, it's for all different kinds of applications. So first off, I guess I would say, if you're looking for protection, the law societies will protect you as an individual from bad immigration lawyers far more than the consultant regulator will. But when it comes to expertise, I know some consultants out there that are super smart, very, very knowledgeable, and have done the work to learn. I know a ton of immigration consultants that haven't, that are lazy, that are just interested in taking money and don't know anything. I know a lot of immigration lawyers that are exceptional, super smart, who are moving the needle, who are protecting people by challenging immigration refusals. And I know other immigration lawyers that their paralegals have all the knowledge. And I shouldn't say immigration lawyers. Most immigration lawyers actually know immigration, but some general lawyers who want to dabble in immigration, they don't know very much. In fact, they may not know as much as you do, and have paralegals that know more about the immigration how-to part of it than the lawyer does, because the lawyer doesn't touch with the applications. So long answer, Amara, but I like to think that you've come to this channel, you've saw how we share information, you've seen the level of expertise that happens live, and that if you ever needed to retain a representative to help you, that you would hire someone from our firm, that you would come to, Holthe Immigration Law, and you would click on speak to a lawyer and book a consultation with us. Alicia and we both have been practicing for almost 20 years. Chanel and Cedric have also got extensive experience. Cedric worked for the government. Chanel immigrated herself and went through the process, so she understands it from both sides of the equation. And so we all have expertise that comes to the table. And, and I've got one more day. This is my last day on the national executive of the Canadian Bar Association, where over the last 4 years, well, and many years before that, I've devoted to working for free, zero income, advancing the cause of immigrants generally, of foreign workers, of international students, advocating with the minister, meeting with government, giving feedback on new programs, and sharing it all with you. So I would hope anyone who's watching this would say, oh yeah, you wouldn't just go hire someone else because they're $50 cheaper, but you'd realize that you get what you pay for. And I know even with the fees that I've quoted there, that they are very, very low compared to many, many immigration consultants and lawyers. You'll find people that are cheaper. You'll find cheaper that are more expensive. But hopefully what we're doing here is building a relationship with you, a relationship of trust. And if I somehow botch things up, well, the Law Society, I could lose my license to practice. Unlike the Consultant Association, where I've done everything in my power to shut a consultant down here in Lethbridge, who royally screwed people over for years, had her own business that employed people, 2 sets of books, just totally unethical. And I could go search right now, and she's still a consultant practicing on the list, even after going through investigations with government. I think it's unacceptable. I think she should have been kicked out of the Consultant Association. And I think that's a reflection on anyone who is a consultant. You want to clean up your industry. You want those people that are tarnishing your reputation being kicked out and removed. And just like if I find a lawyer that's not doing things properly, I don't want them to practice immigration. I want them out. There you go. Long answer. Okay, we'll go through just a couple more and then we will go forward from there. Uvesh says, my parents got a visitor visa refusal as I applied before convocation day. So now after how much time period can I apply? Please suggest. Every single time I will click on here and I will tell you to slide over and book a consultation, because that is something that is so specific to just your situation, Uvesh. It's not something that I can tell until I actually have a chance to look at everything. And just because your convocation, you applied for it before convocation day, that may not be the reason that it was refused. All right. Okay. Okay, another one here. Okay, so Sid, this is clearly immigration lawyer territory. My friend wants to apply for an open work permit under the Hong Kong special policy, which expires February 7th, but this person has a wounding conviction. Well, and a sentence for 3 months, according to Hong Kong law, it's spent. Well, this is what we call, I'm working with another client in the US who has prior convictions, and that is a rehabilitation assessment, which requires an equating of the foreign elements of the foreign offense with the Canadian provisions to see if it would make that person inadmissible. And then there's the formal application. Very, very complicated stuff. Okay. Yash says here, hi Mark, my postgrad expired January 2022. My employer applied for an LMIA for me and got it on May 2022. RCC refused the work permit, saying that I do not have an LMIA, which is updated through the web form. Okay, Yash, this once again, and this is the hard part, you guys, because I understand these specific issues. These are very, very detailed. And this is, I don't know if you used a representative to help you. The web form is awful. And so book a consult and let's see what we can do, Yash. Let's see what we can do. There's always volatility when you're submitting your work permit before you get the LMIA, and the web form was completely useless. And so it's not surprising that they didn't get it. But there are things that you can try to do to challenge that. Okay. Okay, so Sid, once again, consult. We need a whole lot more information on that sentence to see if rehabilitation is needed. So I recommend you book a consult. Okay, Yash says, following on the same question, I got an interim work permit. Can I still claim 50 points in this case? My closed work permit is in process. Same story, Yash. I recommend you book a consult because ultimately there's only certain provisions that will allow you to get those 50 points. It has to fit within one of those categories that we talked about here. Let's see if I can go back up to offers of employment. This one, it has to fit if it's not an LMIA based. If it's LMIA based, it depends on the type of LMIA that you obtained. And so I would really need to see what was done before I could say, yeah, you can start changing your profile and put the 50 points in. Okay. All right. Okay. So Isato says, hey, in my spousal, we just noticed that one of our dependent place of birth in her passport only states the clinic she was born and birth certificate states both clinics in town what to do. Isato, this is what I want you to do. I want you to go over here and I want you to go to the Canadian Immigration Institute and subscribe for, if you're going through a spousal sponsorship, to join the course, but you get access to the material now. I cover a ton of this information in the course. And then in October is the master class. But please, please consider doing this because and you can see here, as far as the cost of what it requires to hire someone now, you can subscribe right now and get access to it for only $347. There is a ton of content on filing paper, on filing online, and you will get admitted into the group that we have, the community group that's associated with this, and start asking questions and communicating with other people as you go through. Now, in terms of the mistake, letters of explanation, or in terms of the wrong place of birth, letters of explanation are the way to do it. If you can correct the passport and get it corrected, then I would do that. But ultimately, it's not something that I would stress too much about, but the letters of explanation, and if you do it properly, it will allow you to navigate your way through that without problems from IRCC. Okay, Jackie, shout out to you too. All right, so we're gonna wrap it up here. I'm gonna meet actually with a recruiting company here in just a little bit, and we're gonna talk about some of the things that they can do and maybe getting a relationship set up with them, because guys, Alberta, the rest of the country, things are starting to pick up, opportunities are starting to come, and it's looking more and more like individuals are going to be able to start getting genuine job offers. So pay attention, and I'll just pull up Andy's comment because Andy's one of the good guys. And Andy, I would be happy to share the name of the consultant. I talked to, what's his name? I specifically brought this up with with your old fearless leader. I can't remember what his name is. Why is his name? I can't remember, of CAPIC, the old fearless leader of CAPIC, Andy. I talked with him at length about this, and nothing has come of it. Nothing. So happy to connect, and I'll send you a little message with the consultant. I'll show you. So, but thanks, Andy. Consultant, good guy, right there. All right, so let's wrap this up here. A couple little reminders once again. If you want a question, you didn't get an answer today, remember, we'll be back tomorrow, Alicia and I, at 11 a.m. Actually, do you know what? I'm not sure if I'll be back tomorrow. We'll see. I may have Cedric do it with her because I may be out of the office. But if you want to have your question become the feature question, then what you have to do is submit that question. And you can submit your question by clicking on the link below, and that will then take you right here to where you can submit that question, and then it can form a part of a potential candidate, that we pull through to see which question is the one that we're going to do. Now, I can't remember. I'm not sure if Igor set up the Q&A. Let's just see here. I think we just had the one super chat. Yes, I don't think we had a poll today. Don't believe we did. All right, that's just fine. Okay, so going back to this, so you can submit your question by clicking on that link. And yeah, as far as everything that's going on, don't forget, you guys, please don't forget that for what we're doing within here, the best thing that you can do to say thanks is to subscribe right here to the channel and let people know that this is happening. And yeah, we try to listen to you. We try to do the things that we think are going to be the most benefit to the most people watching. So stay tuned for lots more content, and thanks so much for being here. All right, guys, take care.